Okay, we're live.
Okay, we'll call this special virtual meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order. Would you kindly stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do the roll call. Alderman Angley is present. Alderman McPherson.
Present.
Alderman Macy.
Here.
Alderman Gidwani.
Present.
Alderman Carloni.
Present.
Alderman McGordy.
Here.
Alderman Simonetti.
Present.
Alderman Simons.
Present.
So everybody's in attendance. Thank you. The public portion, if anybody wishes to address the board, you may do so. Raise your hand when you're called, come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and let us hear what you got to say. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board? Anyone that wishes to address the board? Anyone that wishes to address the board? There being no one from the public that wishes to address the board, we'll go on with the agenda. Minutes for approval. For the special virtual meeting of August 18th, 2021, and the public hearing of ordinances August 24th, 2021.
Move to waive the reading and approve the following meeting minutes. Board of Aldermen, special virtual meeting, August 18th, 2021. Board of Aldermen, public hearing on ordinances, special meeting, August 24th, 2021. Second.
There's a second discussion. Any discussion? There being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Declared passed unanimously. Item 5.1, Finance Committee, there are no items. Item 5.2, Public Health and Safety Committee, there are no items. Item 5.3, Street Committee, there are no items. There's no report of the mayor and no report of the president of the board. That brings us to the legal report, 6.1, Corporation Council Building.
Move to authorize a total payment of $4,395.69 to Corporation Counsel Teodoso Stanek, LLC, for services rendered per statement dated September 1, 2021, with funds to come from the following legal services account. Legal fees, $3,762.50. Disbursements, $633.19.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declared passed unanimously. Item 6.2, Assistant Corporation Council Building.
Move to authorize a total payment of $2,133 to Assistant Corporation Counsel Thomas Galvin Cotter for services rendered per statements dated September 2nd, 2021, with funds to come from the following legal services account. Legal fees, $2,133.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bill Macy. Discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? So ordered unanimously. Legislative rule. Items for public hearing. Item 7.1A, amendment to the Code of Ordinances.
Move to amend the following sections of the Code of Ordinances, which is included by reference. Section 4-35, officer stipends. Section 4-29, allowance to companies. Section 4-30, deputy chief, communications, assistant superintendent of fire alarms, appointed duties and responsibilities. Further move that this ordinance be published in summary form with a full copy available for review in the office of the city town clerk.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. The public hearing was held on August 24, 2021. Is there any discussion? This has the note that this has the recommendation and support of the Board of Fire Commissioners, and attached and made part of the record in the minutes are the specific changes to section 4-35 and 4-29. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody opposed? Declare passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 8.1, financial business. Item 8.1, there are no items. Financial business new, 9.1, September statutory refunds.
Move that the report of the tax collector relative to the refund of taxes for a total amount of $11,296.48 be approved, and that the finance director be directed to make payments in accordance with the certified list received from the tax collector, with funds to come from the statutory refunds account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So ordered unanimously. Item 9.2, engineering services agreement for Shelton High School's Finn Stadium concession stand.
Move per the recommendation of the finance director to waive the bidding process and approve the agreement between the city of Shelton and the WBA Group Incorporated for engineering services for ADA and health code compliant construction renovations to Shelton High School's Finn Stadium concession stand. Further authorize Mayor Mark Ayler to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the same.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there discussion? Is there discussion? I'd like to point out that in the absence of discussion, it is going to be very difficult for the public to understand what we're doing tonight. And in effect, what we are doing is to waive the bidding process for engineering services. Now, those engineering services are attached and will be made part of the record, but they're very enlightening. The things that they're going to do, the engineering services has worked for the Board of Ed in the city before, and they know the city of Shelton, they know the Board of Education. There's also, once they determine the engineering, the scope of the work, they are going to be continued on in the capacity of clerk of the works, so to speak, to watch over the project and make sure it's done right. And I think this is an enlightening consulting services agreement. It's a very enlightening, and anybody that's interested and wants to follow this should read it.
Mr. President, if I may, I think that the scope of the work should be put into the record. If you would like me to read it, I'd be glad.
Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. And
No, the 5 items, I think, was the scope of services on the.
maybe since council has reviewed this and council has done, maybe council can summarize it for us. Would you mind doing that, council?
Want me to summarize the whole document or just services?
This is WBA Consulting Services for concession/restrooms renovations at the Edward C. Finn Stadium. I believe the amount, as it says on page 4 of the document, that the entire compensation for this engineering services agreement is $26,000. But they're going to determine the scope of the work, and then they're going to oversee that that work gets done the way it's agreed that we want it done.
If I may, Mr. Ellis, the scope of the services that is on the first page of the document, on the WBA paper is very simple. And I think we should let the public know they're gonna expand and renovate the existing concession room at the field. Construction of a new women and men's restroom, which are very, very badly needed. The conversion of the existing restrooms to storage space. Reconstruction of the roof as necessary based on the building expansion. And all improvements shall be compliant with ADA and health code requirements, which I think is important, so that anyone can come up to the stadium for whatever activity it is, whether it's a foot race or a football game or whatever's going on, and can be comfortable using the facilities. Right now, they're not. So this is a very, very good thing to do, and you do want to have everything up to code and up to speed like that, especially health codes, so nobody gets sick, and ADA so that everybody can participate.
I think the scope of the services document is comprehensive, and I just wanted to have some discussion on it so that people are aware of what we're doing, and that the Board of Education and the Director of Buildings and Grounds for the Board of Education is involved.
If you've been up to the field at any time in the last couple of years, you can see that it's needed renovation for a while. So
Yep.
this is a very good thing to be getting done. And again, cooperation between the board and the Board of Aldermen and everybody.
Okay, so any other
Should I
discussion?
mention one thing?
Yes.
We have worked with this company in the past. They were integral on the field, the surface, the resurfacing of the field and the track, and also water drainage, which no one ever realized that the field was basically floating on top of a lake, basically. And they saved us considerable amounts of money because they showed us not only ways to save, but to actually do the job better than it could have been done. So they found also ways to utilize material that might have otherwise been hauled away, and we had to pay for scrap, and help create, the emergency exit out of there for ambulance, et cetera, to Constitution Boulevard. So this company really comes as a 5-star rated company. They've really done us right.
Was the City Public Health and Safety Committee, which you chair, was that involved in that?
No, this was done by the Public Building Improvement Committee, which I chair.
Well, any other discussion?
I just have one question on page 4, Roman numeral 1, other conditions. I know the 26,000 obviously would not include anything that may be discoverable. So if there were issues that needed to be addressed based on item 1, how do we go about that? They hire, who does that? Do we go out to bid, or does the consultant recruit someone for the removal if that in fact was an issue?
Where you?
I'm on page 4, where it says other conditions of the WBA scope of services. It's the last page. I'm just curious.
Essentially, what they put through is the equivalent of a change order to the city to ask the city for authority to take on the additional responsibility.
Oh, okay.
They wouldn't do it initially.
Right, I understand that. So I was just curious if it would be them requesting it. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other comments? Okay, there being none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So moved unanimously. Item 9.3, funding for renovations to city-owned property at 45 Grove Street.
Move to authorize an amount of $35,000 for renovations to city-owned property at 45 Grove Street, with funding to come from aldermanic bonding pursuant to section 7.16 of the city charter.
Second,
Is there a second?
yes, second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Discussion.
I have a couple of questions for you, Alderman Anglais. So if you could just clarify, we're doing 35,000 for renovations, but in the notes, from the minutes from the last time, we talked about or the mayor talked about raising the house and creating parking. How does this renovations relate to that? And if you know, what are the renovations that represent the 35,000?
Okay, I think in the last meeting, the discussion went along the lines that in order for us to utilize that property for the intended purpose that we purchased it, and that was eventually to have more parking available for the Belden Center. The mayor pointed out that maybe it's COVID and maybe it's because of adjusted scheduling for the users of the Belden Center, that the issue of parking hasn't been as prominent over the last year or so. So he said this is the parking use of that property is going to be a little more long-term and perhaps would be contingent also upon us expanding that to a second lot if that came on the market. But if it doesn't, in the meantime, instead of just letting the property sit there and deteriorate, we'll renovate it and rent it, bring some money in to pay for it during the interim until we decide finally whether it's going to we're going to adopt it as for parking as we originally thought.
Okay, so do you know what renovations they're doing?
No, it's
I'm
I don't know, but it's what we've done as we did with the Divskovsky property. We which is coming up later on in this meeting, but we provide seed money to get them started, and they go in and they renovate the kitchen and they renovate what needs to be renovated, and that's done in-house. So it's not farmed out, it's just as work as our maintenance, internal maintenance people are able to apply time to it. They go over and they do things that have to be done. And it comes along, and just like the Divskovsky property, it's up, it's finished. The Divskovsky, as you'll note when we get into it, it cost us a total of $58,000, and we got a fully functional house that we're renting. That's the same objective and the same approach that we're going to follow here.
Okay, so the only thing I would further comment on is that without knowing the specific renovations, I would hope that they're done with keeping in mind that we do plan to raise the house, because COVID will end and we'll have the parking issue. The parking issue is, I guess you can say, temporarily gone away, but it'll come back once everything is fully operational.
Well, that's
So
right.
I just, you know.
And we're not sure of the timeline on this because the lot has runs from Grove Street back to the Helen DeVoe property. So it's contiguous, and it gives us an avenue, you know, another way into Helen DeVoe. If a lot is contingent upon what happens. If house next door to it comes up for sale and we were able to purchase that, then we've got a bigger piece of property for parking, which probably would be very helpful. But we're just going to have to, if we let it sit there as it is, it'll just deteriorate. And I don't think, you know, the mayor's thought was we might as well get started on it and get renovating it, get rented out in the meantime until we're ready to convert it to its intended purpose.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for council. Section 824 of the Connecticut General Statutes. This might require, I think I'd like to ask if you would look into it. This might require as part of our motion to make this contingent upon favorable 824 from planning and zoning. And I think that should be, that isn't in the motion, but should be added to the motion and should be considered. Because 820, the statute specifically says that if you locate or substantially improve, and it goes on to say a bunch of other things, and then it says other municipally owned property, which is broad, but I'd rather read it in a broad sense and go get ask for the 824, because, you know, from planning and zoning, and then we'll have touched all bases.
Mr. President, I'll move to amend the motion to state such.
Yeah, is that?
I think that's wise.
It's reasonable, okay, thank you. Yes, you can amend the motion, if you wouldn't mind. The motion has been, Alderman McPherson amends the motion to read subject to add-on subject to a favorable 824 for planning and zoning. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second to the amendment.
Is there discussion on the amendment? No discussion. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm waiting for the delay. All opposed to the amendment? Okay, declare the amendment passed unanimously. All in favor of the motion as amended?
Aye.
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 All opposed to the motion as amended? I hear no one, so declare the motion passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.4, funding for the purchase of parks and recreation vehicles, waiver of bid.
Move per the recommendation of the finance director to waive the bids for the purchase of vehicles for the Parks and Recreation Department in an amount not to exceed $55,000, with funding to come from municipal COVID relief funds.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Is there discussion? I would presume, as we have done in the past, that this would allow us to purchase used vehicles that for Parks and Rec. I would imagine that. I don't think there'll be new. Any other discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Who's opposed?
No, I think it was an aye.
Was it
Oh,
delayed
Lorraine,
reaction?
was it aye?
No, I was in favor.
Yeah, she was in favor.
In favor.
Alderman Gidwani, how do you, I can't hear you. Alderman Gidwani, did you get cut off?
Alderman Gidwani is no longer in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So do you have a time frame as to when he's no longer in the meeting? I only say
I
that-
apologize, I do not.
I only say that because I haven't heard of the last couple of votes, and
Correct.
I've been
Yeah, 2 or 3
declaring.
votes.
3 vote, this would be the third one, I believe.
Okay, and I've been declaring the votes unanimous, so I just wanted to clarify that, and I want to be precise. Okay, so item 9.4, it's of those present and voting, it's unanimous. Thank you. Item 9.5, funding for road rehabilitation.
Move to authorize an amount of $500,000 for the rehabilitation of city roads, with funding to come from the American Rescue Plan.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. It's wonderful to be able to have this kind of money from the American Rescue Plan. But I just want to warn everybody that what they give it, they take it away, and sooner or later, we're going to have to pay it back. And so when you look at 500,000 and 2 million and all this kind of money that's being thrown around, you're ready to dig in your pockets to pay it back. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ordered unanimously. Item 9.6, funding for the demolition of the chicken coop at 27 Old Town Road.
Move to authorize an amount of $80,123 for the demolition of chicken coops at 27 Old Town Road, with funding to come from aldermanic bonding pursuant to section .716 of the city charter. Further authorize Mayor Mark A. Loretti to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate the same.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
I'm looking at the prices to do this job. It's amazing the cost that they're putting up here.
It went to bid,
Yeah.
it went out to bid.
Yes.
You think the cost is good?
I was amazed. Some are double. The lowest cost actually was lower than there was a lot cost lower, but I would imagine they didn't meet the criteria. That's why they didn't get it. But I couldn't believe $148,000.
$179.
Yeah, 79. Yeah.
I could be mistaken in this, but I think that the waste products that may be in there are considered either toxic or at least enough to make the people working on it, to put them in a serious situation where they need breathers, and it's not just a matter of
Oh,
getting a
no,
bulldozer
exactly.
and clearing that.
That's
No,
thing
right.
out.
I agree. I agree.
That's why I think the prices are so high. Then they have to dispose of all this.
That's phenomenal.
Well, this action that we're taking tonight is to authorize the funding. And we will approve the contract in later action, because the contract isn't part of this.
No, it is. I sent it to everyone today, John.
Yeah, I
I
saw
emailed it
chicken.
to everyone.
Didn't read it.
John, you had printed it out, you said?
Oh, let's see. Yes. Okay, the motion,
Got it.
I think, here, I got the contract, the agreement. I got two contracts. I got this services agreement, $80,000 for the demolition. And I also have the real estate contract, which goes back to 2013 when we purchased the property. Just because, remember, we purchased this property for open space. And so that chicken coop isn't going to do very well in an open space setting.
Well, it's a safety matter too.
It's gross. It's gross. So the motion, then, I think the motion should be amended. If we're going to approve the contract, the motion should be amended to include that, because it says motion is to authorize the $80,000. Where the money's coming from, and to authorize the mayor to execute all documents, but it doesn't, we gotta add to that and amend it to specifically approve.
I agree to the amendments. I'll make the motion to amend it.
So your motion is to amend the original motion to include approval of the contract as well.
Yes.
All right, everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay, is there
I'll second.
discussion? It's seconded. Motion made by Simonetti, seconded by McPherson. Is there any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody opposed. To declare the amendment passed unanimously. All those in favor of the motion as amended?
Aye.
Wait, sorry. Hold on, guys. I just had a quick question before we vote on that. Very quick. Do we know, Alderman Simonetti mentioned it, but do we know why we didn't go with the lowest bid?
Well, we did go with the lowest bid, if I,
No, the actual, if I may, thank you, Noreen. The lowest bid
Sure.
is actually $1,962, which is what Noreen is referring to, I'm guessing, right, Noreen?
Yeah, I was just referring to what you brought up. Exactly. I didn't think it was answered.
As I said, I can only assume or guess that it was because they didn't meet the contract.
The criteria.
The RFP. Requests. Do you wanna, hold the vote, or do you wanna, move forward, but have someone explain it to us, send us a notice about it?
Yeah, no need to hold the vote. I'm just curious. Yeah, it could be an after the fact thing. Absolutely.
Alderman Simons has something to say.
Many times in these, when they bid on these different projects, it depends how inclusive the bid is. The bid doesn't always, sometimes some things that are included in another bid will be marked as optional or extra cost on that bid, but not included as part of the gross bid. It's just put down as, options or it is not included in the bid and will be billed as such. So that could be another reason.
Yeah, understood.
Yes, but I've seen that many times in the bids, and we pass on those because it leaves it so open-ended that they could do almost anything with the price at that point.
Yeah, understood. I think the point we're trying to make here is we're speculating. We don't know. But
Right.
again, I don't think yeah.
Well, we get some kind of document of this.
So, okay, so, Noreen, your question been answered as best as it could be answered?
It has, and yeah, just to clarify, yes. And I do not request to hold the vote. The only thing I asked was that, either tell me who to follow up with or whatever after the fact. It's just, I'm just curious, that's all.
You probably, I don't know who, the mayor must have ended this up and made the decision who to go with. So when he gets back, you can talk to him.
Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
But I think we all would agree that the demolition is consistent with the property use as open space.
Exactly.
Because I
Yep.
just don't have a bunch of chicken stuff up there and try to use it for open space.
No.
So, okay, so we'll then proceed. All those in favor of the motion as amended, say aye.
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 Okay, so declare the motion passed unanimously. The motion as amended passed unanimously. There being no further business to come before the board, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Second.
There's a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare adjournment unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you. Meeting is ended.
Take care, everybody.